Hello and welcome back to another video. So this is my last reading vlog of the month because I am on my 7th and final book of this month, which is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly because they are spelled differently than encyclopedia and fairies typically are, but I'm going to pronounce it that way. This is by Heather Fawcett. It is a trilogy and cozy fantasy, and again, I kind of already started it. There's no chapter titles, it's just days, because this book is written as almost like a personal journal of Emily Wilde, the main character of this. I'm on page 43 and like 13% of the way through the book, which is, I'm trying to think of my opinion of it so far. It's good. It definitely feels almost like I'm reading a nonfiction in the sense of it is written in almost like a scientific journal style at some parts, where I'm like, oh yeah, I can totally tell that this was like written in this sort of style, and it was interesting. But I had to keep in my mind, I'm like, what am I reading a nonfiction? No, I'm reading a fantasy right now, but it feels so much like a nonfiction in some parts. Obviously majority of it, no. But there's just some like bits and pieces, like if I can flip to a part close to the beginning where like they have these little paragraphs at the bottom, like sometimes when you read nonfiction books of like with a little, when there's like a little asterisk next to something, you're like, and then it explains what they're referencing to, like another book that they're referencing to, which I found was so interesting. I really am enjoying this. This is my first ever cozy fantasy too. I am enjoying it. And again, I'm only like 13% of the way through it. I've also been listening to it as an audiobook. I've been doing that a lot lately because I've just been doing other things. Like I was just finishing up putting my laundry away and I was listening to it in that way. So as much as I hate listening to audiobooks, I've been doing it a lot more lately. I wish I didn't, but I am. So yeah, so that's where I'm at right now. That's the update and the welcome to this video. I keep starting my books before I film my intros. I don't know if it's a problem or not, but I keep doing it. And yeah, let's keep reading, and I will update you guys in the next clip. Hey guys, we're updating. So such a bad update, but I'm like 23% of the way through this book now, and I have some thoughts. And they basically revolve around the fact that I have no thoughts. I have thoughts that I have no thoughts. If that makes any sense. I've just been reading this, and this book feels like, yeah, just almost like it numbs my brain while I'm reading it. I have no idea, because I'm like, I have no thoughts. Other than, I don't know if this book's gonna get a very high rating for me, because it is cozy fantasy, which means it has very low stakes, which I'm very used to reading. A lot of high stakes fantasy. That's the fantasy that I read the most. So I was like, okay, let's experiment with some cozy fantasy, some low stakes fantasy. I'm only 20% of the way in, so I may be prejudging here. I don't know if I'm liking it. That's the thing, my thoughts are like, I have none. Like, as of right now, it's almost like there's nothing going on up here, or in here, to be completely honest. Nothing really crazy has happened, but again, it is low stakes. So I'm expecting the whole book to kind of be really chill, and I don't know if I'm gonna like that, especially in a fantasy book. Another thing is like kind of the tone that this book is written in. I think I mentioned this in the last clip, it is written in the perspective of a professor on a scientific adventure. I don't really want to say adventure, a scientific assignment of studying these kinds of creatures and figuring out about these kinds of creatures. So it is written in almost like a non-fiction journal, except I know it's fiction and it's magical. So it does kind of feel in some places, not in a lot of it, but in some places where it's very heavy on the scientific process, I guess. It definitely feels very nonfiction to me, and I don't read a lot of nonfiction, so that's a bit of a grind to get through.
And the only thing I'm enjoying in this is the rivalry that's just started. So basically, our main character Emily Wilde. It's Emily Wilde and Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I think that's actually how it's pronounced. Whatever. And she's obviously doing her scientific whatever, and her academic rival, I would say, or a guy she worked with, Wendell Brimbleby, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. He showed up, and in her mind, because we are reading this from her POV, it's first person. In her mind, he annoys her so much, and like he's the complete opposite of what she is. She's very keep to herself. Doesn't really like being around a lot of people. She doesn't really like talking. She's very serious, very focused on his work, while he seems to be a little bit more carefree and relaxed and very sociable, which makes her just annoyed at him. I laugh about it because I actually find it it's like the only interesting part of the book for me right now is their rivalry and just carrying her annoyance with him, because he very much annoys her, and I'm just like, he doesn't annoy me, he's just funny. There are bits and pieces of it where I'm like, oh yeah, this kind of annoys me, but I'm also like, is this just because I'm reading it from the perspective of someone who finds him annoying, or is he actually annoying? So the characters in this are okay. I'm not hating it, but I don't know if I'm even really liking it, to be completely honest. I'm at a standstill of, I don't know if I like this. I don't know if I hate it either. I know it's probably not going to get a 1 star from me because it's not. There are elements of it that I'm liking, like obviously the rivalry between these two. And he just showed up like 2 chapters before, and I'm already loving him. He's such a great character, very funny and witty. There are a few moments where I'm like, dude, not the right call there, but I am interested to see how this is gonna play out as the book goes on. And also, this video needs to come out tomorrow, so I'm going to be binge reading this today. But yeah, I really don't know. This is not something that normally happens to me. Even though I am only 20% of the way through the book, sometimes I can get a grasp of like, oh, this writing style I'm not going to like, so I'm probably not going to give this book a high rating. But as of right now, I don't know how I feel about the writing style, because it switches between feeling like a very scientific journal of almost non-fiction-esque feel to it, and then it switches to like, oh, this feels like I'm reading a normal book. So I really don't know how I feel about it, and hopefully I'll figure that out by the time I finish this book, because I gotta give you guys a clear rating, or else what was the point of this? But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now with my thought process of this. Is I'm only really enjoying the rivalry, and it's not even really strong of a rivalry. I think it's really one-sided. I really think Wendell doesn't like. I don't think he feels at all a rivalry to her. I think he feels of her as like a good friend. That's how he treats her, and I think that's like his outlook on her. While she just doesn't like him. It's a very one-sided rivalry, I think, which makes it all the more fun and entertaining, because you can clearly tell in parts it's very one-sided, where I'm like, girl, he doesn't think of you as this. You're just putting your own assumptions of him and forcing that as a part of his character, which from what I can tell, even though only knowing this dude for 2 chapters, is he doesn't seem like he would be like this, how she perceives him. There are instances where I agree with the main character of like, yeah, that wasn't the most humble thing to do. But then there are moments where like I think he's just genuinely just trying to be nice to you, and you're taking that as he's being egotistical in a sense. So yeah, those are my thoughts of only being 20% of the way through. This book is making me think a lot, even though I say I have no thoughts. I have no thoughts when I'm reading it, but after I sit down and actually try to think about what I just read, I'm like, oh yeah, this is okay. I have no comprehensive idea of the actual plot, other than that she's trying to figure out about this unknown fairy race. That's about it. That's all I got from the plot of this book. It is very unclear and very wordy. This is very wordy, but again, it is written in the perspective of a professor. She's a professor. She's like in her 30s. She's a professor at Cambridge. So I'm like, this. So it makes sense that it's very wordy and like very scientific and words I don't know, because again, it is a whole magic system, I guess. I wouldn't even say magic system. It just, if I didn't know that this was a fantasy going into it, I would have thought this would have like almost magical realism aspects to it, because it doesn't feel like a fantasy book. As I've said like probably 3 times in this clip, it doesn't feel like one. It feels like I'm reading a scientific journal on a fantasy element, a fantasy creature. So it doesn't feel like I'm reading an actual fantasy book. It does kind of feel like I'm reading like a folklore book, like a book on, I don't know if this is categorized as folklore. Maybe it is. That's something I'm gonna have to look up. But I know it's a cozy fantasy, but it just doesn't feel fantasy. It feels like, you know, those books you read in school in literature, like you read folklore stories in school sometimes. That's what this feels like. It doesn't feel like I'm reading a fantasy book. It feels like I'm reading that, where I'm like, is there supposed to be like like almost like a fable? Not really a fable, because it doesn't, I don't know if there's like a life lesson to be learned, because that's what fables are. They're stories that teach you life lessons, but it does feel like I'm reading a folklore. So it's an interesting experience, because I don't read that very often. So yeah, those are my thoughts and opinions on it so far. Hopefully the next time you see me, I'll be way farther in on this book than I am. But yeah, see you guys in the next clip. Can you guys let me know if you like me recording myself reading or not? Comment down below. To the end of this video. I finished, and before Friday, because that's when I need, it's Thursday, I need to finish this book before tomorrow, because this video comes out tomorrow. I finished it, and I gave it 3 stars, and I think I said this in previous videos, 3 stars is my average. It's a book, like, I liked it, it wasn't great, it wasn't horrible, it's average, so it's 3 stars for me. I gave this book 3 stars. I think the ending saved it from being, it was going to be a 2-star. But the ending, I think, saved it, because there were parts of it where I was like, oh, this is grueling to get through. But I did love Emily and Wendell. Honestly, it was my favorite part. The only good part of this book, to be completely honest, to me, I think it was the writing style of it that kind of threw me off, because it would switch back and forth. I think I said this in the last clip. It would switch back and forth between feeling like a scientific journal and then like actually a book. And then the ending was really confusing. So that makes me want to pick up the next one to figure out why that was the ending, because I'm really confused. So there's 3 books in this series, by the way. It's a trilogy. So it makes me want to read the next one, even though I didn't love this book. Like, it's not a 4 or 5-star book for me. Still makes me want to read the next one. Hopefully, I wonder if the next one's any better. So yeah, I don't feel like I need to talk your ear off, because I just did that like 2 clips or 3 clips ago about it, but I liked it. And I really have no other opinions. I kind of stated all my opinions earlier. Even though then I was like 20% of the way through the book and now I've finished it, my opinion hasn't really changed, other than the ending saved the book, because if that ending hadn't been the ending it was,
I don't want to spoil the book, so I'm not going to say what the ending was, then it probably would have been a 2-star book. But the ending saved it, so it's 3 stars. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!